Think about a day when you really felt like you had your mojo back, when you were operating at peak performance, whether it was your interactions with people or perhaps on a project or process. In today's session, we're really going to take a deep dive into the Enneagram and the respective arrows. One of the arrows points towards how you lean under stress, but another one really helps you uncover characteristics and traits that can help you balance and create a greater sense of calm when you're feeling more secure and confident. So let's take a peek at the Enneagram diagram and begin this exploration. So as you recall, each number on the Enneagram points to your core type. So if you are the reformer, for instance, your arrow under security and calm points towards the 7, for instance. So we're going to go through each of the types and talk about where that arrow leads. Now for the 2, for instance, it would lean into the 4. The 3 would lean towards the 6, the loyalist. The 4 leads towards the reformer. The 5 leads towards the challenger. The 6 leans towards the 9. The 7 leans towards the 5, excuse me. And the 8 leans towards the 2, and the 9 leads towards the 3. So I'm going to pause my screen share so I can just kind of walk through each one of these and talk about it in more detail. So let's talk about each one of the core types and what happens when you're just feeling a little more calm and confident. This is really going to give you some ways to really balance yourself and operate at your optimum. So the 1, the reformer, the person that always wants to improve things, the person that wants to get things right, that makes sure everything is accurate, the person that is leaning towards high principles and values and ethics typically. So what does this person do when they're really operating at their optimum? Well, that 7, the enthusiast, that arrow can really help you avoid being critical and judgmental and too exacting and too perfectionistic, and help you instead be that passion behind the project. Get everybody rallied to lean in the same direction, really rowing in the same direction. So that 7 is the person that is the great adventurer, enjoys, being passionate about projects and processes, can be, very magnanimous in terms of rallying people, and helps others really see the intersections of ideas and things. So 1, reformer. Really, really think about how you can maximize the enthusiast and really lean towards some of those characteristics and traits to get the team to rally and move in the same direction, but with a real sense of passion and vision. Now, if you are the 2, you are going to lean towards the individualist. That's the 4. Now, the 2 is that giver and helper, the person that tends to be very empathic, compassionate, really cares for others, and sometimes does so at their own expense. So if you are a 2, one of the ways that you operate when you're really feeling more secure and more calm and more confident is you operate a little bit more like the 4, the individualist. The 4 really wants to stand out at times, differentiate, be a change agent, create new ideas and new experiences, really be aware of what is happening. with the team, and at the same time, do things that are sometimes a little outside the box. So that can be really good for the giver helper because that allows that giver helper to lean into their creative aspects and really maximize their ability to use that creativity and explore those passions with others and be a little more task focused versus just people focused and just being the giver. It can really help you because the individualist tends to be collaborative, but they often really have their own ideas and passions that they want to, share. Now, if you are the 3, the achiever tends to be more focused on doing than on people sometimes. But the achiever really can be a real standout because they are very ambitious. They are success oriented. They could be rather image conscious. So they want the team to look good. They want the team to get things done. But you can benefit from your 6 counterpart, where you operate very well when you're feeling confident and secure, and that is the loyalist. The loyalist applies a little bit of skepticism, a bit of analysis to projects and processes, and even sometimes to people. They can be deeply loyal to people at the same time. And that can be very helpful for the achiever because you want people not only to rally for the cause, but you want them to believe that you believe in them as a team and that you're going to be loyal to the team first and foremost, not just being all about you and your accomplishments and your tasks, but about what the people think, what they think needs to be done, and to apply a dose of skepticism. And the 6 can either be very risk averse or they can be very high risk taking. So if you are the achiever, maybe you need to lean into some risks that you have never taken before. Or perhaps that loyalist is going to pull you back a little bit. And before you take the great leap, is going to help you evaluate whether that's a risk worth taking. Now, if you are a 4, the individualist, you tend to lean towards the 1, the reformer, when you're feeling more confident and more secure. That's a good thing for the 4 because the 4 is sometimes trying to stand out and be different. And really, apply their high degree of aesthetics to projects or processes if it involves anything that centers around aesthetics, for instance. But at the same time, that 1 can help you aspire to high values. So it can ground the 4 in a sense of principles and ethics. It can allow the 4 to be more focused on accuracy, not just on how things look from a creative vantage point, but getting it right, getting it moving in the right direction. And it also can provide that 4 with that macro picture of trying to reform things, to take things to the higher level, take the team to the best version of itself. So if you're a 4, really think about how you can look at the team through that reformer lens by helping the team be at the very best, following the highest principles and values, but also doing their very best and most accurate work. Now, if you are a 5, you are the observer. Your core self is to kind of step back, be more analytical, more reserved, sometimes not putting out a lot of energy towards the group. But the good news is that you've got the challenger as one of your arrows. The challenger has a lot of really protective energy. So they want to protect the team. They want to assert their values. They want to assert their ideas. They may not always have a lot of patience if people are complaining or are talking about, the issues or the things that are holding them back. They want to keep things moving forward. So if you are the observer, that challenger aspect is going to help you kind of get your mojo back. Keep things moving, keep the team moving forward, getting them looking at data, for instance, and analyzing that, but interpreting that and moving that interpretation into action items, into actual strategies and tactics. Because as we know, the observer can kind of step back, but sometimes we need that observer to move forward and really translate those keen observations into actual strategies and tactics, and really harness the energy of the respective team to get those things done. Now, if you are a 6, you are the loyalist. So you tend to naturally be approaching things with a dose of skepticism. You can be deeply loyal to the team, which is a real asset. And you tend to either be that risk averse, moving away from risk, or very risk taking. So you really need the benefit of the peacemaker. So your arrow points to the 9. The 9 is very collaborative. So it can help you kind of get outside of that shell of trying to make sure everything feels secure and, analyzing things, to making sure everyone feels like we're building consensus. We are collaborating. It may help you be more empathic and compassionate towards your coworkers, for instance. And it may also help you step back a little bit, because the peacemaker generally wants to achieve consensus before they make a decision, whereas the 6, the loyalist, may be high risk taking or risk averse. So it's going to help temper your tendency to take a high risk or a low risk. You're going to maybe just sort of be more in between and more apt to consult with others before you take the leap. Now, if you are a 7, you are the great enthusiast. So you love the great adventure of life. You love the project and where it's heading, but sometimes you can get a little bit bored and then just kind of, lose interest. So you really can benefit from your arrow, which points towards the 5, the observer. That's going to allow you to be a little bit more analytical, be a bit more observant of the group, really temper your enthusiasm to some extent until you have established collaboration and built consensus. And also to make sure everybody is on the same page. In other words, your adventure may not be everybody else's adventure. Make sure everybody else shares the same vision, because once again, you want the team all rowing in the same direction. Now, if you're an 8, the great challenger, you are trying to protect the team, you're trying to move things along, you're not trying to be daunted by any kind of obstacles, but you're going to really benefit by the arrow that points to the 2, the giver-helper, because the giver-helper is empathic. The giver-helper is very compassionate and cares about others and cares about what they think and what they feel. And sometimes as the challenger, that's not where your radar is. Your radar is more on getting things done, keep moving, keep asserting, keep being decisive. But the giver can really create that incredible balance that you may need to take the team to a very different level and to a higher level of performance. Now, if you're the 9, the great peacemaker, then your natural inclination is to create peace, to create consensus, to make sure everyone is getting along, to harmonize. But your arrow points to 3, the achiever, when you're feeling confident. The achiever can really help you get things done, not just stir the pot with all of the people's feelings and thoughts and ideas, but to get the task moving along, get that checklist in order, establish goals, and get everyone once again moving in that same direction. And the 9 can really benefit from the achiever's aspect that tends to center on tasks, getting things done, really getting a lot of satisfaction out of being a doer. And so that is a really, really healthy trait for the 9 to attain. So in looking at the Enneagram, when you think about all of the different 9 types, you really get a sense of how you can operate and really benefit from these 9 different intersections and how they operate at their very best when you are at your most confident and healthy level. And really, for all, employees, there's never been a time when you really want to operate at your healthiest level. You want to try and watch how you operate under stress. And if you didn't catch our video about that, I encourage you to look at that, because that will give you the red flags of, oh my gosh, I'm under a lot of stress. I'm leaning towards some of these unhealthy traits. And you want to lean towards where you identify and can benefit from that arrow when you are not under a tremendous amount of stress, but you are feeling more secure, more confident, and really when, you've got that mojo. So think about your particular core type and how you can maximize some of the key characteristics and traits of the type that you move towards when you're feeling more secure, and then watch for those traits for when you are under stress. For more information on our staff training workshops or for individual sessions, feel free to visit our website at apertureadvisory.com. I have a very extensive experience working with nonprofits, businesses, and individuals, and private schools. And I would love to work with your team so that we can take your team to the highest level of performance. So always remember, open your aperture, look at the bigger picture of the team, and look at the bigger picture of your core Enneagram type so that you can be the healthiest version of yourself. And then, in the words of the great George Lucas, always remember your focus determines your reality. So keep your focus on your healthy aspects. Step back, give yourself a chance to take some deep breaths if you're under stress. Get your mojo back and think about what is the healthiest version of how I can operate right now with my team so that we develop the most successful strategies and tactics to reach the outcomes and goals that we have in mind. Thank you so much for joining me today, for liking this particular video and subscribing to my channel. Thanks again.